Hey guys, welcome back. Since my last video bombed, I guess we'll just get right to it. Keep in mind this is not the fastest way to remove a Hemi from an all-wheel drive LX platform. Got that done. Yes. I think this poor engine is acclimatizing to the humidity in a bad way. It's probably the farthest south this engine's ever been. It's a little worse than we thought. All that because I like a $200 set of fans. Alright, got the exhaust off. That was kind of a pain in the butt. Got a regular slip joint and band clamp, but they decided to weld. They welded here and welded all up here. So that was fun. So I've got a bit more room to work now. I get this transfer case and everything out of here. And lucky us, we get to find all the loose stuff from whoever worked on this last. So that's good. And then we got on the transfer case there, right there. There's a little gap. It's kind of hard to tell, but who knows what else we'll find. So with the luxury of having the heads off, I'm just using the head bolts, some sockets and washers to keep everything rigid. I'm using a ratchet strap to help aim or angle the front of the motor, tilt it up, tilt it down, depending on what happens when we relieve it from the bell housing. You can see I have the preload off of the mounts on both sides. As you can see, for reasons I will explain later, AC is still charged and hooked up, power steering as well, just everything's about disconnected and moved out of the way. Trans cooler lines are still intact. One of the many reasons is that thermostat block. There's no way you're getting the hardware out of that thing more than once, so we're going to wind up replacing the trans cooler lines anyway. I just didn't want to deal with ATF dripping everywhere. Keep in mind our mounts are unloaded, but they are still attached to the side of the engine. I will be removing these from the brackets before we pull the engine. I need to move the engine forward to uncouple it from the transmission. So you kind of get an idea what's going on up front. Let's go underneath. So we've got our trusty cinder block, paver stone, 2x6, some plywood, more 2x6, and some weird squared off thing I got. There is a dowel hole, which I'm familiar with for certain transmission adapter plates. It's like a little hole that part of the plate would install into at a dealer, so I'm assuming this is the correct area to support the majority of the weight of the transmission. Don't be like somebody else and try to use this flimsy. I can literally push up on it with my fingers. You can see it's indented here and over here. So you can get a better look at the driver's side engine mount. And that is the passenger side. It's a little higher than the other one, but that's okay. When I take the mounts off and start uncoupling the engine from the bell housing, I'll probably lower it just a little bit to add a little bit more preload on the transmission. And we will be using an angle finder to give us a good idea of where the block needs to be on the reinstall. Keep in mind the reason that we can't just come forward with these installed is because they're a bolt-through design. The bottom stud goes down through. Now, probably you could get it up high enough to just come forward with it, but that's just the way I'm deciding to do it. Now, going back together with this thing, we're going to be doing things a little bit different, but this time around we're just taking everything apart. You'll notice you can still move it around just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and lower it just a hair, so I've got a little bit more preload on that. Oh, that was loose already. I have to be careful because we're actually missing one of the top bolts. It's not there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Gotta be careful this part of the rack too. Probably could have had the transmission aimed a little bit higher, but we'll be all right. So I'm putting this bolt back in the bottom just in case when we start wiggling the engine around once we're loose, it doesn't swing back too far and slam into these power steering lines. 14, 15, and 16 on this engine. can already tell I need to maybe let me pop that. I might just take that bottom one out. Use a good ratchet strap. We're out. The gap's about the same at the bottom. So 5.8. Just keep a reminder. Yeah, we're good to start coming up. Come on. All right, so fortunately I have extra long bolts that will work on this particular block, but I had mentioned this was missing a bolt. Luckily nothing's broke off. I think that's just been an empty hole for a while, so I'm gonna spray some WD-40 in there. I'm just gonna walk a bolt in and out of there and see if we can't get a bolt to hold, because that's not many places to bolt to this block, but we'll get it. I think we're okay. Just really dirty. This transmission was replaced in 2016, so that hole's been empty for a while. I think that would make it pretty top heavy though. It's about as high as we can go. And welcome to the Hemi corner of the shop, I guess. I'd say the hardest part is done. So it's a little bittersweet with the fact I could have turned this into like a 10-part series and been that guy to make a full tutorial video on exactly what you need to do to pull one of these things and what you can do that you don't have to do but might work, what might not work. Given our circumstances, we're going with, at the moment, plan C of our many options. I need to tear the short block down to a block so I can bring it to a machine shop and have them hot tank it, magnaflux it, check for any cracks, and check the condition of the bores. I think you can go about 20 thou over on these and see if this is a good candidate for reuse.
and then go through the monotony of getting all the parts together we need, because the bigger problem with this is the cylinder heads. The passenger side is a good candidate to be upgraded, but the driver's side I would need a donor anyway. So it might be more economical to just buy 2 pre-fixed heads from like Summit or somewhere. I don't know. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. We have to see if the block is any good. So that's kind of the time constraint. But given the circumstances, I really wanted to just get this tore down as quick as possible so I could get the block checked out. So as you probably know already, when you're doing a big job like this and you're tearing an engine out of a car that's this old with this many miles, you come across all sorts of stuff you want to just replace just for the heck of it, and some stuff that needs to be replaced. Trans-cooler lines, bits of the harness here and there, plugs and wires, things like that. Lots of little repairs, besides all the gaskets and mating surfaces for everything involved in doing this kind of job. Obviously, we're nowhere near going back in, but I can tell you already, going back in, I'm going to have the AC system pulled out of the way. I do have a 609 certification. I've been doing AC stuff since like 2012, but I've always had access to a Robinair or a Master Cool or just name an AC machine, so I'm a bit spoiled with that, but I finally backed myself into that corner. I always knew I would be, and now I need a way to evacuate AC the safe and legal way. And I just don't have everything I need. I have a vacuum pump and some gauges and some tanks I had modified to be recovery tanks for short-term stuff, but I just need to go online and order a recovery machine. I would, of course, like to buy the high-dollar ones, but everyone's on a budget, so I'm going to wind up buying probably the cheapest one I can find. Because the volume I turn out in this little shop is not a crazy amount. I just need the thing to work. Of the 4 vehicles I'm in possession of, all of them have R134A. 2 of them are my daily drivers. So once the AC compressor and the power steering and all the other stuff's out of the way, going back in will quite literally have the heads on, the exhaust on, the starter, the front differential. All that can still be on going back in. That's kind of more or less how this is designed. But again, you don't have to take all that stuff off, but you needed a way to evacuate the AC. And that was that corner I always knew I was going to be backed into. So the only thing I actually forgot to record was taking off this through shaft for the 4-wheel drive system, and actually that was really easy. I had to loosen the power steering lines a little bit, but I was able to get that thing out. So guys, the next video we're just going to be tearing apart the short block and seeing what we find. Probably not a whole lot, but something to do anyway. Not that I don't have a lot of other stuff to do, but I'm running out of those blue shirts I have. Every one of my videos for the last 5 years I've been wearing a blue Service Tire Truck Center shirt. I've started with like 12 of them. I'm down to like 7. Every time I get gear oil or ATF on them, you can't put them in the washing machine with the rest of your clothes. When I hit 1,000 subscribers, I promised myself I'm gonna get some custom TCF Garage little pocket shirts made. So the sooner I get that stupid magic number, the better. So. But guys, until then, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.